very little politics, which is I think, what pub politics should be about, really. And so thank you to the speakers. I think we should give them all a big round of applause, please, to start. Now, you may have noticed this. Can I say this? You're not recording this, are you, by any chance? This fuck-off cameraman here with his camera. It's a very, very, very big piece of kit. Right? They're actually from PBS. Is it US or America?
US.
PBS US, which is by far now, folks, the largest American news network in the States. I think it goes out to, what, 350?
Every US home with a TV.
Every US home gets PBS. And when I was in the States, I did actually watch PBS. It was my favourite channel, no question at all. This debate tonight will turn into, I think, about a 12-minute documentary. There is some other stuff I know you've been doing about Worcestershire, but primarily it'll be from the Cap and Gown. And that will go out to, I think, something like 6 million Americans on the weekend of 18/19. I will be putting it on my Facebook page when exactly it's being broadcast. Patricia, can I have your word? You'll let us know?
Of course.
Yeah? Because there'll be a lot of disappointed people in Worcestershire, you know.
Absolutely.
So we will know it'll be on the weekend of 18th, 19th of June. It will be broadcast to 6 million Americans, approximately. And there's around 15 million online views every week. So can I have a big cheer for the only international politics pub in the world? God take some credit. So Patricia and Kevin will be coming around, as they have done. I think they've already interviewed some people. They'll be staying after the event. Do stay on. Tom, this is a bigger audience than you've got. Can we also have a round of applause for this man, Tom Edwards, from the Worcester News, who every week is diligently here and reports very accurately on the standard debate. Now, right, this is the boring bit. I've been doing a plug for the Cap and Gown, but hang on, Tracy, shh, please. You've got to keep them under control. You hang on. Anyway, we are actually. I've refurbed the pub, as you know. We've got this fantastic backdrop, which is the House of Commons. We are the political pub, but we've done that for actually commercial reason. As of next week, not this coming week, but next week. On the Wednesday, we're starting to open here from 8 o'clock in the morning. We're going to become a cafe bar, and I've taken on a chef. You know, it's going to be a nice pub. We do politics, we do live music, and all the rest of it. So, if you don't know about the pub, and it has appeals all the way through, please follow us on Facebook. There's lots of announcements there when I get round to it. Sometimes a bit late, but you know, we're doing this for. We're not. It is about bringing democracy to people, but it's also. These debates have inspired me to put a lot of money into, refurbing the pub so it becomes a really nice, grand gesture. And we do, the other big thing we do is live music. We've got an amazing band on Friday. If you like live music, get down here. They're one of my favourites, the White Feather Collective from Malvern. And then we've got, I can't remember his name, but we've got a great band on, apparently a great band. My stepdaughter books the band, she's a musician, on Sunday. They'll be kicking off at 5:30. I'd like to say a big thanks, please, and I want a huge round of applause for my staff who do a great job for us. They're absolutely part of the team. You know, it's Tracy, it's Nikki, it's Nissa, and just as importantly, where's that man? That sound man? Chris? Where are you? So can we have a big round of applause, please, for the staff? So that's enough from me. I'm now going to hand over to Richard. We're going to do a Q&A, and then there'll be a 2-minute summary. There's more questions coming in to Richard. Richard will now sort this out. I'd ask, please, people, you know, it is a pub, and we do expect a little bit of heckling, but not too much. It needs to be respectful in here. Absolutely respectful from everybody, okay? That's the only way we can get through the night. I don't want to step in. I am the big cock in the room, let's face it. Excuse those words, folks, but I do not want heckling too much. Right, we've got a lot to get through. Lots and lots of emotion on either side. Let's just be civilised about it. Absolutely, get on. So I'm going to hand over to Richard. Thank you very much.
Get on with it. Get on with it. Let me explain what I'm going to do. First of all, thanks to everybody who's putting questions. We've got a wonderful selection of questions tonight. We're not going to have time to ask all of them.
Microphone. Chris, walk you.
Hold on. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hold on. Can you hear me now? No? Wait.
Shout loud.
Let's try the other one. How about that? Okay. Right. I was saying we've had a wonderful selection of questions. We're not going to be able to ask all of them because we're just too many. And we'll try to be representative of the ones that have come up for our panel. And I'm going to give one member of each side the opportunity to answer. We're not going to have 4 speeches at a time because that makes no sense at all. But there'll be one quick answers if we can, and then we'll move on to the next one. The first question is: has the free movement of labour improved the UK education system by allowing EU scientists and lecturers to come to the UK and pass on their knowledge? Starting with David Green.
Yes, the answer to that is yes. There are many scientists and engineers in UK's universities. There are also, for instance, local companies like AVL, who are the world's leading transmission firm, who have a whole multinational workforce working for them here in Worcestershire, but top-end engineers from Germany and Austria, amongst others. And so it's been extremely successful. I might also say that the quality of Britain's universities is such that we're also successful in attracting really excellent students from elsewhere in Europe and of course around the world. We're the second leading destination for international students worldwide, only after the United States, which of course is much bigger. And they enrich our communities, give the opportunity for people who are from here in Hereford and Worcestershire to study alongside people from, in the University of Worcester's case, 69 other countries, a terrific international experience which really helps people get into employment and work in the global economy successfully.
That was a soft question.
Question?
That was a soft question.
Question?
I think you asked that one.
Yeah, really, it's a very simple question.
Could you do all that without being in the EU?
Yes. Well, actually, we've got a lot of experience of that, and it's very straightforward when an EU citizen applies, in terms of we appoint the best person for the job, and very often we have 70, 80 applicants for a particular lecturing or professor position. If the best person we really want is somebody from outside the European Union, we are deeply limited in the number of positions that we can offer. At the moment, it's 5 a year.
But if you left the EU,
And
So leave the EU.
leave the EU.
Stephen Hawking
Well-
says it would be a disaster if we left the EU. For science, for science.
the vast majority of scientists, the overwhelming majority of the university's vice-chancellors in the country, and when I say overwhelming, I have yet to find one, there's bound to be one, who's in favour of leaving the EU. Britain's leading scientists are all in favour of staying in the European Union, and it's a really big consensus of opinion. So if you're looking for the most educated people in the country who invent new things, then staying in the European Union is the way to go.
But does that good for Britain?
Okay, let me get
I agree as well on what David said there. Obviously, having a wide pool of talent, the widest pool of talent possible, is bound to enrich our academic institutions. Now, I'm not an academic, but I know that's just simple common sense. But if we had a truly more globalist outlook, maybe we could draw on that greater pool of talent from right across the globe.
Yeah.
We could raise our standards still further. And just touching on a point that David made at the end there about a consensus among universities, and I think there is, it has to be seen in context with a lot of universities being a beneficiary of EU funds, which is basically our UK tax money being recycled back to us. So if we left the EU, surely we could reinvest much of that money saved from our EU membership back into our universities and draw on a pool of talent from right round the entire world.
Right, the next question is specifically for Frank, please, and it's coming almost in identical form from two of you, and it's as follows: it is important to protect borders. If we do, if we, the UK, Brexit, will you build a Donald Trump wall between the Republic and Northern Ireland?
I think I previously said I'm not a politician. I'm not going to get into the Northern Ireland debate, no matter what you ask me for. Would we build a border between Northern Ireland and the south of Ireland? He'd never give me a chance to even think about it before I came up here. No, 100% not. But would I have border controls? Absolutely I would. I'd have border controls in Northern Ireland and the south of Ireland. I'd have border controls in Southampton, in Dover, in Hull, and every other major crossing point that comes into the UK. Sorry, we do? Actually, you're wrong. There is absolutely zero border control. Sorry, you're heckling me and you won't let me talk. Actually, I'm sorry, I walked.
Do you need a passport to get into the UK?
No. Sorry, hang on. I don't think you know what you're talking about. I walked from Warren Point into the south of Ireland. I didn't show any documentation. There is no crossing point. There's no one to show a passport to. It is free movement between the Republic and Northern Ireland. That is a EU country to the Ireland. Sorry, you're just wrong.
I think, Frank, though, the questioner is really asking, though, if Britain were not a member of the European Union, and obviously Ireland is going to remain a member, will it not be necessary to build a border between the two to prevent any sort of leakage of immigration from one to the other?
Yes.
He answered that.
And I think the answer is yes. Unfortunately, I think you do have to protect our borders from everywhere that exits. So unless the Republic demand that they will show and share information with their immigration issues, then we would have to put a border back up again the way we did in the 70s, 80s and 90s.
Chair, I have a question now. May I ask you something?
Yes?
Yeah, I am the questioner. Scotland, the current administration have indicated that if we vote Brexit, that Scotland will campaign again to exit from the United Kingdom. And if they so do, are we also going to build a wall between Scotland and England?
Yeah, go on. Rebuild Hadrian. Why not?
Really,
There's already a wall there.
let's face it,
Just fell down.
the issue with Scotland is completely outside this debate. 100% it is. I mean, Nicola Sturgeon will have any excuse to have another referendum to get Scotland out, and she'll ask it as many times until such time as people get bored and then those who want to leave will actually go.
Just want to remind you, before the EU, people from the Irish Republic had freedom of movement into this country anyway.
Right, okay, let's move on. I just make the point though, the Roman Emperor Hadrian attempted building a wall between England and Scotland, and that didn't have any sort of effect in stopping people coming across it. The next question is, if we leave the EU, what will the UK do with the up to 2 million UK nationals who will return home from other EU lands?
Why?
Why return?
Why
Yes.
would they?
That's the question.
Why would they return home from other EU lands?
Yeah.
Would there be some irresistible force dragging them back to the UK? After all, I mean, it's not as if they don't spend a lot of money, on the continent. British pensioners make a positive contribution to the economy in Spain. Workers across the continent make a positive contribution in their host countries. It would be down to the upon Brexit. It would be down to the individual host countries to decide how to treat their immigrant populations. And massively pro-immigrant that they are, I'm sure that they would be very welcoming and accommodating to their existing expatriate population.
Yeah. We will be. They've got laws that protect them.
Obviously, I don't know what would happen to the 2 million people who are citizens of Britain who live in other countries. But I do know that if Britain votes to leave the European Union, that opportunity will be denied for British people, particularly young British people, who are much more likely to move to work, to be able to do so in the EU. And I think that that would be a really big disbenefit in this global economy. The European Union countries are our near neighbours, and the second that we leave the European Union, all of those young people who work for a few years in other European countries and then return home to the UK, some of them of course staying because affairs of the heart take place and they decide to stay in France, Germany, Spain, Greece and other countries. All of that will stop, and actually it will be a great detriment to the British society.
Rubbish. Did you work in North America?
The next question is as follows. Migration suppresses wages due to cheap labour from overseas. Is the EU worth hurting the working classes?
Well, the fact of the matter are that there's only been one study which has been done which has shown that that's taken place. I know the person who wrote it. It's a guy called Bob Rothall, who taught me when I was a student at Cambridge, and he did all the work econometrically in terms of measurement in 2008 and 2009. There's no evidence of any such effect operating except when there's a deeply depressed economy. And there hasn't been a deeply depressed economy for some years now. And please remember what I said about there being a labour shortage. It's really not a factor, and this is an argument which is just not the case. So the facts say otherwise.
I think everybody knows I'm not a politician. I don't have facts and figures. What I do know, in 2008 and 2009, we didn't have Bulgaria and all the rest of the Romania and all the rest of the countries coming in. Everything I've read in the last few days, and it's complicated the hell out of me, it's suggesting that wages have been depressed, and certainly it's going to get worse, because when we actually go to the living wage as opposed to the minimum wage, it's going to encourage more people to come over here, because it's just a more attractive society. So what we're trying to do is help the people who don't have a lot of skill levels, but give them a living wage, let industry pay for them. And when we do that, if we open the borders again, we're just going to have a massive immigration problem.
True.
On a matter of fact, one of the top economists in this country has said before a House of Commons committee and in The Guardian that the overall consensus of economists who study immigration say it is of net benefit to this country. That cannot be refuted. It's no good saying I don't know the facts and figures. It's been in the press, he's been reported.
But what do you mean by this country? Why can't we see our doctors?
This country, what the
Hold on, let's move on to the next question, please. A lady was kind enough to say that she enjoyed the debate and said it was excellent, but she said there's been no mention yet of a European army. Do we want to allow British armed forces to come under control of Brussels?
No. What's that got to do with
Yeah.
Nothing to do with the subject.
Please save me. No, don't let my kids be responsible to a European army.
Dutch cowards.
I know what everybody's saying. We have our own MEPs, and I know people don't vote for an MEP, but you know, even if 100% of the people in this country voted for the MEP, we would still be in the minority.
Yeah.
There's only a small number of UK MEPs in government, and I do not want my kids joining the UK armed forces to be responsible to Europeans. I want to be responsible to UK Parliament. I'm sorry. 100%.
Dutch cowards in Bosnia. Dutch cowards who let Bosnians get massacred.
Well, the answer is no, and it's not on the agenda, so it's a kind of non-question, really.
It is on the agenda.
Yes,
There's a picture on Salisbury Plain of a vehicle on Salisbury with a vehicle with a flag of the European Union on it.
EU battle group.
An EU, that's it, the EU battle group.
The question was about British soldiers in large numbers being under the command
Well, that's the start.
of somebody else, and really it's not a proposition, and actually the whole way in which the European Union is moving is to be a Europe of the nations rather than to be a superstate. So I consider that to be a non-issue, and nobody should make up their minds on that basis.
You're rubbish. Nations with no common culture.
Next question. How would you reform the EU to make it more democratic and answerable to the British people?
Abolish it.
Do you think,
Abolish it.
do you think that's feasible?
No!
No.
The Commission.
Totally not.
You think any
No. Corruption.
What is it that stops the British civil service from becoming an unaccountable juggernaut that runs the country? It's a lively and vigorous House of Commons of politicians who insist that there is a political process.
Thank God
What
for
is
that.
it? What is it that keeps politicians accountable to the electorate? It's a lively and engaged electorate that writes their MPs questions and wants to see them answered, and will not elect them if they don't support the interests of the people.
That's us, not Europe.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We are Europe.
And the parallel is exactly the same. I would start, as I said before, in engaging the people of this country, engaging in a more robust and energetic way with those we've elected to represent us in the European Parliament. That Parliament needs to be robust, it needs to be lively, it needs to be
We're a tiny minority.
engaging
It's
with...
rubbish.
It
It's a
doesn't
total
work like
bureaucratic
It needs to
nightmare.
be made to work like that.
It won't.
How many people here can name an MEP for the West Midlands?
Me, James
Jim
Carver.
Carver. Jim Carver.
That's the money, he doesn't turn up.
And a lot of us can't. Well, I can because I printed off the names before I came here. We don't engage with them. They don't engage with us. We have to make that work. That's the first
Won't work.
step.
They're corrupt. I've
Why
been
not?
there.
They're not corrupt.
They're unfiltered.
They are.
Then we should not elect. Why are we electing corrupt MEPs if they're corrupt? It starts with the electorate, it starts with us.
Correct, good point.
Ladies and gentlemen, the EU is unreformable. It's heading in one direction.
Yes.
It's like it's on train tracks to a European federal state. The institutions were not set up to be fully democratic. The EU Parliament is not a parliament at all. It's just an assembly
Exactly.
which has the most
How
power
about the House
has
of
to
Lords?
amend the legislation which is coming out of the EU Commission, which is a body full of appointed bureaucrats. These people are not directly elected. If you had to make the European institutions more accountable, you would have every single commissioner open to election across Europe. There is no way that that's ever going to happen.
They're the civil servants. The European Parliament can throw out anything that the European Commissioners propose.
I don't think that's the case. If that was the case, they'd use that power sparingly. So. Unreformable. Let's leave. And if they, perhaps the shock of Brexit might shock them into reforming the EU substantially.
So, actually that question is leading on to next week's debate, which is, this House believes that the EU is undemocratic, which leads to corruption at the heart of its politics and institutions. So that's actually next week's debate. It's a really big issue. Do come along to that. I'm sure everybody will have views.
We already know that!
The gentleman who shouted out, we already know that. I wonder why he's bothering to come to a debate to listen to 2 points of view. Next question. As a UK citizen, I have the right to live, work and study anywhere in the EU. Why should this right be jeopardised by leaving the EU?
Well, I don't think it should be, and Europe at its best is about people and individuals, and that's how it should be, and it's very important that we keep it and make it better.
So
Did you ever study in America?
So I think I actually agree. Why wouldn't I be allowed to go and work in the EU?
No reason.
Why can't I go and work in the USA? Why can't I go and work in Australia? There's a very good reason. Because nobody knows my background. In the industry I work in, it's very important that people can trust me. People know my background. I get background checks, I get clearances. People know what they're expecting when I come into their country. And what's wrong with the UK turning around to anybody in the EU or outside the EU and saying, right, I want to see your criminal record history, I want to see your financial history. Are you going to contribute? Are you going to be detrimental to my country? I don't see there's a problem, and it doesn't matter if you're inside or outside the EU.
I agree.
Okay.
Has the university boss worked in USA? I think he has.
The next mental health problem, you'll never go to the USA.
Oh, you can't go there.
If you've been sectioned under the Mental Health Act, you will never
No,
go to the
he's been
USA.
there. He said
But you can go to any part of Europe.
I've got a couple of questions about Turkey. The country. The EU has agreed to visa-free access to Turkey. Is this a good thing or a bad thing? And linked to that is a reference to 1 million refugees who have now entered Germany. When they are inevitably given EU citizenship, there's a question, what stops them coming to the UK?
What was the first part of the question again? Yeah, visa-free access to Turkey. Yeah, well, it's a worry, not least because of the economic arguments, which I've already gone into in my speech, but national security. We have an increasingly authoritarian government in Turkey, which is starting to resemble a sort of an ISIS-light kind of institution. Erdogan it seems to be a radical Muslim fundamentalist, and he is steering his country in one direction. Having a lot of desperate sort of Turks wanting to leave the country will put sort of economic pressures on the rest of Europe.
Why? Why?
And ultimately, why not? I mean, of course it was.
What are you suggesting, that any Turks who don't like the Islamification of Turkey can just move to the EU? Because
well, it won't just but it won't just be it won't just be secular Turks moving to Western Europe. It won't just be secular Turks moving to Western Europe.
They won't be able to move into the EU.
Yes, they will. They will be. Once accession takes place, they will move into Europe. and they will have ultimately been qualified for European passports.
That's what he said.
They're looking
Oh yeah, that's only what he said, yeah.
Hold on a second, come on. Give our panel the opportunity to answer the questions, please. I know you've got strong views, and I know on this particular topic there are a number of different views. But you finished, James, have you?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. I would just say that we had a question along these lines in the House of Lords today to the Foreign Office Minister, and she made it absolutely clear that in her view there was no foreseeable possibility of Turkey joining the EU for many, many years, indeed decades.
But Cameron supports their entry.
Calm down, everybody, okay? Right, the ones at the front are standing here and actually looking quite aggressive. I want you to go and stand at the back of the room, all of you. It is not about the four people, and it's you, and you. Please go to the back of the room because it's unfair to everybody. Well, I'm sorry, it's not a question of that. What you're doing is this is about a debate and about the speakers. So please stand back, go to the back of the room.
So we don't have a right of reply.
Everybody's got a right to speak, but not to shout.
And to hear what's being said.
I wanted an answer to that question.
Well, look, this is a question time.
About Turkey.
This does not happen at question time on the BBC where people can just wade in and actually come forward very aggressively, yes, and go and do that. That is not what it's about. So please step back or leave the pub. Okay?
Don't worry, I'm not coming here again. It's a farce.
It's not a farce. I want you to leave now. Thank you.
The issue of Islamic State has been raised. So let's just have a little bit of a word about that. Perhaps this is something on which everybody in this pub can agree. Islamic State is a really serious organization because for the first time, for a very long time, people have seized state power and are using it to enslave large numbers of people, to throw people off buildings because of their sexuality, to torture people to death, to crucify them, and to act in a way which is entirely consistent with the way in which the Nazis worked in the Second World War. It is exactly the way in which Hitler worked in the Second World War. And of course, there are many British citizens already who have lost their lives, including a University of Worcester student, the only student killed in Sousse in Tunisia, a lovely boy from the Black Country who died with his Uncle Aid, who was basically his dad, and his grandfather. So please, let's not have the democratically elected government of Turkey compared to Islamic State. Now, and you, sir, should withdraw that remark because it is very, very, very foolish. And it's a good thing that you didn't get elected as the Member of Parliament for Worcester. So I'd just like to say a little bit more about engagement. Now, Turkey, we are all beneficiaries of Ataturk, who, by the way, was a victor of Gallipoli. All right? But we are the beneficiaries of Ataturk because he westernized Turkey and introduced the beginnings of democracy. And we benefited for a great period of time on that. But if we want Turkey to not become a heartbeat of really serious and well-organized and well-armed opposition, to all of the democratic values that we hold dear. We need to be properly engaged with their people. And many of their people are working today for democracy, for the rights of women, and they are people who need our help and support and engagement, and do not. Have I been to Istanbul? Yes, I have, and I have worked. And I have worked in almost every country of the European Union, and in the United States, and in Canada, and in Australia. So I have some understanding of what it is that I'm talking about, including in Cyprus. And the situation is engage, diplomacy, peace, discussion, robust action, as Peter suggested, but don't think for 1 second that you can simply say, oh, we'll leave the European Union and we will be safe from Islamic State. Oh no, it will be very much worse.
Yeah, thank you, Ted. And David, I respect your position, but fundamentally, I think you're wrong. The Turkish government is increasingly authoritarian. It is basically fascist.
Locking up journalists.
Islamism is rampant across Turkey. They have done little to control the Islamic State forces already inside Turkey and in the east of the country. Instead of hammering ISIS in Syria, in Iraq, they are bombing the PKK, the Kurds, who are the good guys in all this. Ultimately, the Turkish record of human rights and of governmental authoritarianism is absolutely appalling. And I won't take back a single word of what I said.
What about
Don't do that, mate, you get shot.
What about 1.5 million Armenians? How about that then? Yeah. Let's move on to a different question. And this is one that we haven't done at these debates before, and this is about gay rights.
Yes.
And the question is, in reference to civil rights, gay rights, the questioner says, are better without the EU. And he makes the point, or she makes the point, that Germany moralizes us on gay rights when they have not allowed equal rights in terms of marriage. The rights remain without the EU. Peter.
Good question.
I can't really see the point of the question at all, to be honest. If this country gives rights to gay people in terms of their being able to marry in this country, if Germany doesn't do that, what is the point of this country leaving the EU in order to somehow not, we give the rights to gay people. Germany doesn't. There's no advantage to gay people in that. In this country, leaving the EU.
Yeah, I'm not an expert on civil rights and gay rights, but what I do know is this country is an extremely liberal one, has been for many, many decades. After all, it was the British who legalised homosexual behaviour in 1967, and that was years before we joined the EEC. Gay marriage is not tolerated in many parts of the continent, including Germany. You go over there as a married couple, a gay married couple, you do not have the same rights. This is true, and in another number of EU states as well. Our long history of tolerance and liberalism will continue on Brexit. There's no reason why it shouldn't. We have a long and proud tradition of introducing such legislation, and why would that change on Brexit?
Question. I wrote his question.
Go on.
Okay.
That was loud, I didn't expect that. In terms of talking about gay rights, at university, one of the things that is being mentioned to a lot of students is the effect it will have on minorities. So a lot of students in LGBT societies, a lot of students in the Hindu societies are being taught that if we leave the EU, our rights immediately disappear. It's a farce. Considering, I find it startling that there are countries in Europe in which a gay married couple, a lesbian married couple, could leave here and go on holiday, yet not be seen married within their borders, although we're meant to be an equal EU society. That's what it was more of a statement than a question, but I thought I'd get that across, that it was more about how young people in this country are being taught absolute lies on that we will lose rights in this country immediately as we leave. We are progressive as a country and we are progressive as a society without being told that the rights are given to us. Sorry, I thought I'd just chuck that in.
I don't know how many of you have seen the film Pride, which came out a little while ago. Well, there's a few young people here, so there we go. Well, those of you who did see the film Pride, you'll remember that the main character in it is a young man called Mark Ashton. And microphone a bit away. How's that?
Much better.
Too much. Better? How's that? So the main character, true story on who the film is made is a guy called Mark Ashton, who leads a campaign, lesbians and gays support the minors. At the same time, in the 1980s, when Britain was a member of the EU, we were also engaged, many people, in campaigning against a particular section of Local Government Act, which made it immoral and illegal for any council to support any lesbian or gay society. The age of consent for homosexual relations was higher than it was for heterosexual relations, and there was a need for legislative change. And again, that's not a matter of opinion, that's a matter of fact. Now, I was the only speaker at Mark Ashton's funeral, apart from the priest, when he died of AIDS. And I really do not want to stand here and hear somebody say, oh, everybody else in Europe is more discriminatory against gay people than we are. People fought here for their rights while we were members of the EU, and other societies were more advanced. All of these rights are a matter of democratic struggle by the people, and the struggle continues all of the time. And so please, do not say the point which the questionnaire who just sees the microphone, you're really inaccurate historically, and you know nothing about the struggles which went on in the 1980s, which I certainly do.
What's it got to do with the, what's it got to do with the
The next question is about the Australian visa system, which has been mentioned this evening, the points system. It's been criticised as slow and complex, and it has, as I say, been raised tonight. The question is this: if the UK were to leave, how could British businesses quickly access their labour needs?
I think there's a proven record here. I think if you go to Australia, you go to America, you go to Canada, they have a template that says, if I need this skills shortage or whatever, then I can apply for it. I can advertise abroad. Someone can send me their CV. If it's a skill set that I want, I can offer them employment, and I can bring them over. It's a proven track record.
Could you get strawberry pickers easily? I think you could. If you needed them.
If you needed them, I'm sure you could.
Well, if you think they could, why not?
Do you know, I don't know. I've never tried to pick a strawberry picker.
We've got kids
I'm not a strawberry picker or a strawberry picker's son. I'm only picking strawberries until the strawberry picker comes.
Brilliant.
I'm just going to run down the jobs which are on adverts right now, today, in Worcester. Cleaner housekeeper, set-up assistant, kitchen assistant, shop assistant, in-store team member, guest server, part-time restaurants, customer service advisor, bar waiting staff, and it goes on for over 150 pages.
I have applicants for each of those
This
jobs.
lady works with
Youth unemployment.
Youth unemployment.
Yeah.
And?
Go on.
If I meet with you tomorrow, I'll put forward some... No, I don't want that.
So we can hear you.
We can hear you.
Dead, be counted. I am Spartacus.
Come on, Tracy, we want to hear from you.
Don't film me too.
Speak.
No, you don't.
I've been telling Mark all
Come on, Tracy.
Come on, Dave.
Say it.
Right. No, I don't like my voice. What's your name?
Tracy works with youth unemployment.
And if I was to bring some young people to you tomorrow who are wanting to fill those applications, would they get jobs? If they were willing to work or wanted to work, can you get jobs? Is you my job for me? Basically.
Well done, Tracy.
Oh, thanks.
Right.
Claps
Well,
then.
I'm delighted that you're working to try and get young people into work.
Am I
And all I can say is that there's a great deal of opportunity at the moment so to do, and we're very lucky to be living at an economic moment when we've got the largest number of people, and it's a matter of fact, in work ever. We've got the smallest number of people for over a decade. Well, we've got the smallest number of people who are economically inactive ever. And we've got a very much diminished number of people who are unemployed. So I think the answer to your question is, yes, there are lots of opportunities for the young people whom you're working with, and let's get them into work as quickly as possible.
How many of those adverts are from agencies?
Excuse me.
She wants to meet you tomorrow.
She'd like to meet you tomorrow.
Can we meet within the next fortnight?
I'd be delighted to meet you and discuss this, of course.
Thank you.
Can I just make a point about this young lady? She does fantastic work, yes, in helping young people to get homeless and often very disadvantaged.
No couch left.
And I love her to bits, okay? And if that's a commitment, David, I'm sure she'll be delighted to talk to you.
Let's hear it for Tracy.
I think that counts as a result for tonight, anyway. This is a question on about the economy. Are the current pressures on wage inflation not a result?
He has to.
Not a.
He's a good bloke. Sorry.
You've got your results. Shut up now.
Are the current pressures on wage inflation not a result of the 2008 financial crisis rather than immigration pressure?
Yeah.
Look, I think we're talking not enough about wage inflation. I think we're in a period of wage depression, wage stagnation in certain parts of the labour market. Namely, what I said in my speech, the lower skilled end of the labour market. And this is primarily due to mass migration. There is no other potential explanation for it. The economy has been recovering fairly healthily in the last few years. We had, about 2% economic growth on average. Profits are going up, and yet wages are stagnating. Per capita wealth is exactly the same as it was over 10 years ago. Endless immigration has increased the population, has increased the economy, obviously. But it's the individual productivity that you have to measure for a prosperous economy, and this has not improved. So ultimately I said that is the explanation, chiefly.
Last year, wages in Britain rose by exactly the same amount as economic growth, which is 2%. So what we've just been told is not true, and it just reminds me, don't confuse me with the facts.
The UK may have increased, but the other European countries haven't, and that's why it's been a magnet for immigration.
Okay, we're now going to move on to the last question in this part of the evening. I'm then going to give the four speakers the opportunity to speak briefly in the reverse order to the one in which they spoke to us earlier, and then following that we're going to have a vote. So let's just take this last question, and this is as follows. The free movement of labour has allowed people to come to the UK to fill the skills gap. Also, UK citizens have moved to EU lands to fill their skills gap. Has this not been beneficial to the whole of the European Union?
Yes.
No. Okay, those are the two best speeches of the night.
More of that.
Right. We're now going to take the speakers in reverse order to sum up their case in no more than 2 minutes. Now, keep you to this. So we start with Frank, and then move to Peter, and then you. Okay?
I'd love to say thank you, Richard. Thanks for giving us a warning that we had another 2-minute speech. I didn't know nothing about that. And really, yeah, I'll blame Ted. The truth is, I've always wanted to leave the EU since it moved from the common market towards a federal state. I've never actually felt part of Europe. I don't feel European. I'm really chuffed we never joined the Euro. And although I've got a lot of friends from Europe and everything else, and there's a lot of people in this country from other parts of Europe and other worldwide countries, and they contribute a lot to this country, I just think we need to control it a wee bit. I think our defence depends on us knowing who's in this country. I think our economy means that we want the people here who are going to contribute, cherry pickers and all. I just think if we need someone, we can let them in here, but we can control entry. We don't need to let a free movement in here. As far as people moving abroad are concerned, do you know something? I have a lot of sympathy with the people of Cyprus, because the last thing they need is a lot of Brits moving over there, buying their houses, pushing their house prices up, pushing the wages up, and in their local economy, they've got an economy they've got to protect, and I don't blame them for protecting it. I just think we should all be masters of our own destiny, and that's all I've got to say. Thank you very much.
It's best to cooperate with our friends and neighbours. The more extensively that we do so, the better. It's the best guarantee against further armed conflict within Europe, and that's a very important matter. War is the great destroyer of societies. We see examples of that right now. The European Union is a great bulwark for peace, democracy, and the advance of humanity. And we should be in it, making it better, not leaving it, which will only make the world situation very significantly worse.
We don't need to be part of a political union with the rest of the 27 other countries on the continent to prosper. We want to be friendly trading partners and cooperative neighbours with the continent. We do not need to be part of a political union, which we are ruled by a supranational set of institutions which are not democratic, they are anti-democratic. I believe that democracy is better when it's evolved down to the lowest levels possible, and we do not need endless tiers of government. We need healthy trading relationships. Do not rely on free movements of labour. Look at the North American Free Trade Association. Free movements of goods, capital and services. They do not have free movements of labour. That seems to work for them. It can work for us. We can still have immigration. We just need to be more selective. And that would lead to a more prosperous economy.
I agree that we need layers of government appropriate to different regions and sizes of communities. I believe in devolving power downwards as much as possible, the principle of subsidiarity, but I do believe that a peaceful Europe requires a political articulation. I see that as a process, not a thing, something to be engaged with robustly. to which we make our contribution, and therefore I continue to believe that the European Union represents the best opportunity for preserving the peace in Europe that we've enjoyed in recent decades.
Okay, we're now going to take the votes.
I was just going to mention Henry VIII left Europe.
We're taking the vote, and this is going to be by show of hands, and you can either vote for the motion or against it, and we'll also take a vote on the basis that you haven't yet made up your minds. But Teddy's going to talk to us about this.
Yeah, it's not just here, it's also Bishop Road if they're still listening. If they want to phone through to the CAP of 612236 and all the other venues around the place. And can I just say hello, yes, to my friend Peter Wilson, who's currently in Turkey. He's actually watching this debate online as we speak. He's a British citizen, great guy, and actually doing economic development work out there. So we're going to take a vote by show of hands. Yeah, I'll hand back to Richard. I'll come through and take the count. There ain't any fixers here, guys. I'm just a bit stupid sometimes when I see double, so there aren't any fixers, but we'll take a vote. So, could we have those?
The first vote is in favour of the motion. This House believes it's better for Britain to be with the peoples of Europe than against them, and that the free movement of labour by EU citizens within the European Union benefits Britain. Can you show that by a show of hands, please? And keep your hands up while the vote is counted.
He founded the Church of England.
To be fair, he did that to his wife.
For an elected council on European issues, or an EU Commission, which is appointed from, British person should have the right to tell you what to do. You just said no British person should have the right to tell you.
That's 32.
Right, thank you very much. Can we now have those who wish to vote against the motion, please?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
I'll get them. We're going to count the barmaids.
And the barmaids.
You counted Tracy.
16, Richard.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, 18. And then we've got the shaker all about us.
Yeah. Anybody wants to register effectively an abstention by saying you haven't really made up your minds yet? Any of those?
No.
Not tonight. You're all decided. Okay, well I can declare the result as being in favour of the motion, 32 votes, against the motion, 18 votes. Thank you all very much for your participation.
Good night. Just stay for a drink now. Thank you very much.